I never expected a simple act of kindness to unlock a billionaire's heart. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. My world felt like it was crumbling, brick by brick, and I stood in the ruins, gasping for breath. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden glow on the chaos around me, but all I could see were shadows, the sharp silhouette of mounting bills, the suffocating weight of expectations, and the silence that screamed my name. I stared at the flickering neon sign of the cafe across the street, memories flooding back. There was a time when laughter echoed within those walls, a time when sitting there meant warmth and comfort. Now, my heart trembled as I replayed the conversation I'd had with my mother earlier that day. Her voice had cracked, and I felt the lump in my throat grow heavier. "You need to let it go, darling. It's time." But how could I let go of the little sister who relied on me? As I pushed the cafe door open, the rich aroma of coffee enveloped me. My hands shook ever so slightly, and I could hear the murmur of familiar voices around me. I scanned the room, searching for solace. And then he appeared. Him. The mysterious billionaire. No one knew what he was really like. His name was whispered in awe, but his eyes held secrets that chilled me. He often sat alone, looming at a corner table, fingers drumming against the wood like thunder. That day, he wasn't alone. I watched as he spoke to a woman draped in silk, laughter spilling from her perfect lips. Part of me wanted to look away, yet another part of me was drawn like a moth to a flame. The clinking of cups faded, replaced by the sound of my heartbeat, louder than anything else. I took a deep breath and stepped forward, as if propelled by an unseen force. Just then I saw Ida's small, innocent act. A child at a nearby table spilled her juice, a cascade of crimson soaking the floor. Without thinking, I rushed to help, my heart pounding. I knelt to clean up the mess, my hands trembling. "It's okay, sweetheart," I cooed, wiping tears from the child's cheeks. I barely noticed him approach until he was right there, tall and imposing. Our eyes locked for a split second. His expression shifted from irritation to something unreadable. Time froze. My chest tightened. And then, just like that, a gust of wind blew through the cafe, sending an unexpected chill down my spine. The atmosphere shifted.
It was electrifying.
Was it the child's laughter that broke through the silence? Or was it something in the billionaire's gaze? But before I could grasp it, he turned. No words, just silence. I was left holding my breath, a million questions on the tip of my tongue.
Who was this man?
Why was he here? And had I really just altered the course of destiny with a mere act of kindness? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The cafe had once been my refuge, a place where I could momentarily escape the weight of the world pressing down on my shoulders. But now, with the echoes of laughter in the air becoming ghostly reminders of what I had lost, I couldn't shake the sense of disconnection. I wiped the remnants of juice from the table, casting one last glance at the mysterious billionaire before retreating to the far corner, where shadows danced just out of sight. Time passed slowly. The sun dipped below the horizon, and the cafe's atmosphere grew muted. I clutched my coffee, my mind racing with thoughts of my sister's desperate situation. I could hear the clock ticking in my head, a constant reminder that I was running out of time. Each tick felt like a winding chain, tightening around my heart. Suddenly, I felt a presence near me. I dared a glance up and saw him, the billionaire, his silhouette sharp against the cafe lights. He stood there momentarily, studying me with an intensity that took my breath away. His eyes, deep and thoughtful, seemed to search mine for answers, and I couldn't look away. "Why did you help her?" he asked, his voice low and gravelly, cutting through the noise around us. I hadn't expected him to ask me anything at all, let alone about the child. "It's just kids shouldn't feel afraid," I replied, my own surprise at the vulnerability of my words spilling out. "They shouldn't have to shoulder burdens that aren't theirs," he nodded, a flicker of something curiosity, perhaps crossing his features. "You care deeply," he said, as though weighing my sincerity against something unexpressed. Most wouldn't. My pulse raced as I studied him, wondering how a man who could have anything could possibly understand what I was going through. "And you? You don't care?" I dared to ask, frustration boiling beneath my skin. A shadow passed over his gaze, and for a fleeting moment, I saw a glimpse of pain in his expression. "I don't know how to care," he admitted, almost to himself. "I've built walls to keep those close to me from getting hurt." Before I could respond, he straightened, his walls clenching tight once more. "I need to go," he said, his voice firm yet reluctant. "But I appreciate what you did." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving me in a haze of unanswered questions. Who was he beneath the layers of wealth and arrogance? I wasn't sure if I felt disappointed or relieved that our moment had passed so quickly. The world outside darkened, and the atmosphere shifted once more. Just as I felt the warmth of a message from my sister light up my phone, chaos erupted. A loud crash startled everyone in the cafe, and my heart raced as I turned to see what had happened. It was an older gentleman who had fallen to the ground, clutching his chest in distress. And that raw moment, something shifted inside me. I stood up, instinctively moving toward the older man, knowing that every second counted. Instinct took over as I knelt beside him, calling for help, my voice steady despite the tumult swirling in my chest. The other patrons were frozen in shock, but I didn't have the luxury of hesitation. "Stay with me, sir," I urged, taking his hand in mine. "Help is coming." In the chaos, I felt a presence beside me. The billionaire. "Call an ambulance," he instructed another bystander, his voice too harsh for the situation. "And get water." As the sirens wailed through the night air, I exchanged a glance with him. Our eyes locked again, but this time there was a spark of understanding, a silent acknowledgement that we were both trying to break free from the chains of our own making. Finally, as the paramedics rushed in, I could feel his hand brush against mine, grounding me amidst the chaos, and in that fleeting contact, I realized that even in the darkest moments, hope flickers in unexpected places. Yet, when the ambulance doors closed, taking the man away, I felt an unsettling emptiness. Would we ever see this billionaire again? And as if the universe could sense my turmoil, a sudden notification on my phone shattered the atmosphere. An urgent message from my mother, filled with dread. And an unexpected request. "Please come home. I think it's time we talked about everything." What did she mean? The weight of uncertainty settled in my chest like an anchor, pulling me deeper into the whirlpool of my thoughts. I looked around the cafe, now calm but tinged with the aftermath of panic, and saw the billionaire standing by the door, gazing out at the street as if the shadows beyond hid answers we were both seeking. His presence felt like both a question and a promise, and just as I opened my mouth to call out to him, a rumbling vibration through my pocket made me pause. I hesitated, torn between dealing with my family's troubles and the enigmas standing before me. In that moment, I knew one thing for certain. Whatever was waiting for me at home could never compare to the weight of the emotions lingering in the air. And with that realization came an unexpected clarity. Someone needed me, and I needed to find out who I truly was, beyond the burdens I carried. But as I turned to face him once more, searching for the connection I felt earlier, he stepped through the door and vanished into the night, leaving me with the unbearable question of what possibilities had just slipped through my fingers. The empty cafe felt like a universe, suddenly devoid of stars. I could still hear the sirens fading into the distance, their wails echoing the turmoil echoing within me. My fingers brushed the cold surface of the table as I struggled to gather my thoughts. The unsettling message from my mother loomed large in my mind like a storm cloud threatening to unleash chaos. "Please come home. I think it's time we talked about everything." What did that even mean? I felt myself unmoored, the delicate balance between my responsibilities to my family and my burgeoning feelings for the enigmatic billionaire slipping further from my grasp. I wanted to run, to hide from the weight of expectation, yet I felt tethered to the cafe, an anchor of uncertainty pulling me back into my swirling thoughts. With a deep breath, I lifted my phone, scrolling through my texts again. I could hear my sister's laughter from the day before, moments of normalcy overshadowed now by an urgent need to protect her from their harsh realities. My heart raced as I stepped outside the cafe, searching for a vestige of hope among the disoriented crowd. He was gone, like a mirage fading before I could get too close, leaving me with nothing but a fleeting wish that our eyes would meet again. But even as I stood there, wrestling with the bittersweet remnants of our connection, something unexpected caught my gaze. A young woman on the curb had begun to weep, her face buried in her hands. Her companions were unsure, glancing around, but no one seemed to know how to comfort her. My heart raced again, but this time, against the tide of my own despair, I felt an insistent pull toward her. I made my way over and knelt beside her. "Hey," I said softly, my breath catching on the edges of empathy. "What's wrong?" She looked up, her eyes hazel and shimmering with unshed tears. "It's my dad.
He's sick."
I thought he'd be all right. I felt a pang in my chest, a mirror reflecting my own fears for my sister. "I understand," I whispered, offering my hand, not only to comfort, but to bridge the gap of worry that had widened her world. "Just breathe. It's okay to be scared." Her shoulders trembled as she took a deep breath, and I could see that tiny thread of connection woven between use and unspoken acknowledgement that sometimes even strangers could stand as pillars for one another. "Thank you," she muttered, her voice hoarse. "I just feel so lost." The moment stretched, and we shared a silence steeped in understanding. With each passing second, my resolve strengthened. I wouldn't allow my own tumult to extinguish my capacity for kindness, whether toward a stranger or myself. I leaned closer, gently taking her hand. "You're not alone, even when it feels like it." Before long, her friends rallied around her, an intricate dance of support that chased away some of the darkness from her face. I lingered for a moment, until I felt a soft squeeze of gratitude in return. As they began to move on, I turned back to the cafe, feeling lighter despite my turbulent emotions, yet my phone buzzed again, and dread flooded me. This time it was an incoming call from my mother. My heart raced at the prospect of finally having to confront the shadows of the past we had buried. With a heavy sigh, I answered it, my voice wavering. "Mom, we need to talk," she said, her voice strained, deeper than I remembered. "There's something you need to know about your sister, and about me." A cold shiver rolled down my spine. The words felt like stones being thrown into still waters, rippling outward in ominous waves. "What is it?" In that instant, the world dropped away, and all that existed was the tremor in her voice. "I don't know how to say this. We haven't been honest with you. You need to come home now." The gravity of her request hung heavily in the air like a dense fog, clouding my mind. I looked across the street, my eyes searching for the billionaire one last time. Was he out there, faced with similar revelations and struggles? And could he understand the depth of my turmoil, even if it was unspoken? Just as I turned towards home, my eye caught the flicker of
headlights.
A sleek, black car pulled up at the curb, only it was not just any car. It was the billionaire's. My heart skipped, the tension twisting in my chest again like a taut string ready to snap. He stepped out, his expression unreadable as he caught sight of me. Time froze around us once more, a bubble of possibility that felt fragile and electric. In the chaos of my family's heaviness, a chance to confront whatever lay between us flickered to life. Would he step closer, or would he retreat again into his world of walls? The space between us thrummed with unspoken words, and I stood at the brink of an emotional precipice, uncertain of what my heart was truly willing to leap into next. Just then, my phone buzzed once again with a final reminder, a notification blinking ominously, revealing the cryptic answer my mother had hinted at. "Billionaire heir seeks help. Return of the lost treasure." I blinked, the words twisting in my mind like a riddle, interweaving our lives in ways I couldn't yet comprehend. We were bound by uncharted paths, and in that breathless moment, I realized the cliffhanger of our intertwined destinies was only just beginning. The world felt surreal as I stood frozen in place, the sight of him unraveling all semblance of control I thought I had left. His gaze locked onto mine, a mixture of curiosity and something deeper, a silent invitation to bridge the distance between us. I could hear the distant sirens fading into the memory of a chaotic moment, and yet, here we were, suspended in a different kind of urgency. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice low and steady, piercing through my tumultuous thoughts. The question rolled over me like a wave, both grounding and disorienting. I don't know," I managed, my voice almost a whisper. The weight of family secrets collided with the electric undercurrent of our past moments together, filling the cuts and bruises in my heart with a flimsy layer of hope. "You don't have to explain everything. Just come with me," he suggested, gesturing toward the car. There was something in his Aisa warmth, a sincerity that tugged at me. Yet a voice inside screamed against the reckless abandon this would mean that I can't.
Not now.
My heart twisted at the thought of my sister, vulnerable and unaware of the storms brewing on the horizon. I couldn't abandon her, not when I felt her safety hanging by a thread. It pained me to step back from him, but every instinct urged me to protect my own. His expression shifted, a flicker of understanding crossing his features. "I get it. Family first. But I need to tell you something important. We're entangled in something bigger than either of us understands, and it spans much deeper than just our hearts." "What do you mean?" The question spilled out before I fully discerned the gravity of his revelation. My heart raced, emotions crackling in the air between us, each breath a fragile prayer for clarity amidst the chaos. "Let me show you. You'll understand better." He extended his hand, waiting, lingering just long enough for me to gauge my instincts against the background of my tumult. The pendant of family loyalty that typically weighed me down felt unexpectedly light, but I hesitated. Just then, my phone buzzed again, another ominous call from my mother. Each new notification felt like another stone cast into still waters, each ripple inviting me further away from my own expectations. "Just 1 minute," I whispered, my heart aching as I held his gaze. It was like peering into fathomless depths, and I knew all too well the risks of diving in. I answered the phone, my pulse echoing in my ears. "Mom?" I said again, urgency bleeding through my voice. An exhale preceded her voice, thick with raw emotion. "You need to come back. We can't keep running from the truth anymore. I am thinking of what's best for your sister. She deserves to know." Suddenly, the truths I had buried tightened their grip on my heart like icy fingers, the very foundation of our family crumbling with each word. "What do you mean?" I gasped, clutching the phone tightly. "Knowing this moment could alter everything. There are secrets about your father that you don't know. And one day you'll have to face the legacy he left behind." "But it's not just his, it's yours too," she stammered, and I felt the air leaving my lungs. "Your sister, she needs you now more than ever." The weight of her words detonated a chaos in my heart. I glanced from the phone to him, standing there, still anchored, still waiting. "Mom, I don't know how to do both. I need to protect her, I understand. But you are not alone in this," she said softly, almost pleading. "You'll see." The line went dead, leaving behind a chilling silence that wrapped around me like a shroud. The walls were closing in, and I felt my mind spinning with the unraveling threads of family duty, self-preservation, and desire. "Are you okay?" He stepped closer, eyes radiating concern. "I can accompany you back. You don't have to face this alone. Could I allow him into my world?" The thought of him knowing the truths I had kept so carefully hidden made my heart race again. "I don't know if that's what I need right now." He shook his head gently, and the understanding in his expression ignited a flame of desperation within me. "You're at a crossroad. You can either go back to face the truths you fear, or we can follow this unexpected path together. Whatever it is that links us, you'll need to decide where your loyalty stands." I gripped my phone tighter, feeling the electric hum of tension lace through the air. Looking into his eyes, I saw not just confusion and longing but also a promise, a possibility. With a trembling breath, I dared to say the words that flickered to life in my heart, the tiny embers of hope fighting against the looming shadows. I want to understand. Before I could lose my resolve, the weight of unspoken words hung heavy in the air. Another moment of choice stretched out before us. Just then, a dizzying realization caught me off guard, drawing my eyes to the screen of my phone once more, now glowing with a new notification that embraced ominous curiosity. Lost treasure of the Arterian family, the hidden heir has returned. A shiver lanced through me, chilling me to my core as I glanced up at him again, his expression mirroring my own uncertainty. What did this mean for us? For my sister? And the buried secrets that seemed to wrap around my life like a suffocating web. The air around us buzzed with unsaid promises, and just as I found the bravery to step forward, to leap into the uncharted waters, another siren blared in the distance, washing over our memento reminder that the storm was far from over. I was balancing on the edge of an abyss, ready to dive in, yet unaware of the treacherous depths that awaited. "Are you ready?" he asked, his gaze steady, as if sensing the enormity of the choice perched on my shoulders. Before I could respond, a shadow slipped past me, a flicker beneath the waves. I turned, instinctively, just in time to see an imposing figure approaching from the corner of my eye, a realization that rattled my very being. "Don't move," the stranger commanded, and my heart dropped as recognition washed over me. I knew that voice. The past, still haunting, had come rushing back, prepared to lay bare everything I had tried to shield from surfacing. Suddenly, the crossroads I faced felt infinitely darker, as the ground of my reality began to shift once more. Everything I believed to be true about family, loyalty, and love hung delicately in the balance, waiting for the next revelation to plunge everything I knew into chaos. The chill of the stranger's voice sent tendrils of fear spiraling into my chest, squeezing the breath from my lungs. Time slowed as I swiveled to face this looming figure from my past, the world around me fading to a blurred backdrop, punctuated only by the sound of my heart pounding in my ears. "Lila," the figure said, and even that single word felt like a dagger to my heart. "You've been looking for answers, but you're not ready for what lies ahead." The recognition hit me like a freight train. It was Jonathan, my father's closest confidant, the man who had slipped seamlessly through our family's shadowy history. A man who was supposed to be a protector, but had somehow morphed into an enigma, his motives tangled in the web of secrets surrounding my father's legacy. "What are you doing here?" I stammered, my voice trembling as I clutched my phone like a lifeline. I glanced briefly at him. What should I do? Did I trust the boy from my past standing next to me? Or did I turn to face someone I had always avoided? "Your mother sent me," Jonathan continued, his expression inscrutable. "She's worried, Lila. About you, about your sister, about everything you might uncover. The truth has a way of doing that, unearthing buried fears, exposing what we would rather leave behind. Like she has, right?" I challenged, anger rising as I felt a familiar taste of betrayal. "That's why I was talking to her when you interrupted. She wants to shield us from the truth." "That's not her intention," he said, stepping closer. "It's complicated. Trust me, she's protecting you from yourself as much as she is from the outside world. The legacy you think you're ready for? It's far murkier than you can imagine. Enough." The word burst from me, slicing through the suffocating air. I turned to the boy beside me, who wore a mask of uncertainty, his soft eyes now brimming with concern. "This is about family," I added, pressing my lips together as I fought against tears rising, "and this isn't how I wanted you to find out." "Then let me help you," Jonathan pressed, unyielding. "You don't need to carry this burden alone." The wind whipped around us, but within me, an internal tempest erupted. Who could I trust? With my sister's safety hanging precariously in the balance, and my own heart alarmed by the shadows closing in, I felt like the ground beneath me shifted and cracked. "Why shouldn't I trust you?" I gestured sharply towards Jonathan. "You were meant to protect us. Every time you're near, I feel more unmoored, more lost." I can't just fall into your version of fate and ignore everything I already know. For a flicker of a moment, the wide-eyed boy beside me seemed to glow with something more than uneasy, a glimmer of something that could only be hope, exponentially growing as the tension boiled. I sensed he wanted to pull me away from this dark specter, to find our own path, but the tightening grip of my family's secrets held me captive. Your sister needs you, Jonathan pressed. The legacy that's been left for you know. I interrupted, a feral scream ripping from deep within me, bone deep. She needs me here, without the baggage of convoluted legacies and whatever it is you know. I won't drag her into this chaos, but as I said it, doubt not at my resolve. Wasn't I already knee-deep in the turmoil, perhaps even unknowingly dragging her along with me? I turned back to face him again, and his eyes pleaded with an earnestness that made my heart ache. Understand, Lila, he said softly, her safety is tied to truths you have yet to uncover. You must decide how deep you're willing to go before it swallows you whole. In that moment, a knot twisted in my gut. The fear wasn't just about my sister anymore. It was about the unraveling tapestry of my own identity. I looked into the eyes of the boy beside me, the threads of shared childhood flickering against the harsh light of this moment. Every heartbeat hummed with the unspoken connection we once had. What was I risking by stepping into the light of the truth? What if it shattered the fragile remains of our bond? As if reading my thoughts, he took a decisive step closer, the warmth radiating from him a cocoon against the icy chill of uncertainty. Lila, whatever those secrets are, I promise to stand by your side. I won't let you face them alone. But before I could respond, a sudden movement beside Jonathan jerked my attention back. A figure emerged from the darkness, a woman, elegant and determined, stepping out as if summoned by the very fabric of our conversation. My breath caught in my throat at the sight of her. It was Amanda, my estranged aunt, who had always been a mere flicker of discontent in my father's world. Enough, she declared, her voice steady and authoritative. I've waited long enough to reveal the truth. My heart raced as her presence added yet another layer of complexity to the already tangled web of deceit. The unexpected arrival of Amanda threatened the already tenuous grip I had on my reality. Her gaze locked onto mine, full of fire and resolve, as if she had heralded something monumental about to shift. I felt the air grow thick with possibilities, yet heavy with lurking dread. Every choice I had made, every bond one had forged, and every scream I had suppressed clawed for dominance. In that moment, standing at the precipice of revelation, I was caught between the familiar warmth of old friendships and the shadows of a legacy threatening to consume everything I cherished. I took a breath, bracing myself for the storm ahead, unsure of which direction it would blow and just how far into the chaos I was willing to venture. The flicker of uncertainty in the air spun wildly, wrapping me in a cocoon of tension as I cast my gaze toward Amanda. My aunt had been a force of mystery in my familia, names spoken in hushed tones, avoided in casual conversation. Her sudden appearance felt like the unwelcome storm that had been brewing just out of sight. Enough, she repeated, her voice a sharp blade cutting through the heavy shroud of anticipation. The world around us faded. The noise of the bustling street fell silent, absorbed by the gravity of her presence. It's time for you to know the truth about your mother, your father, and the legacy that binds us all. Jonathan shifted uncomfortably, the conflict playing across his features. Amanda, this isn't the time. You can't just force this on her. She deserves to choose her own path, he pleaded, stepping slightly in front of me as if to shield me from the truths she was about to unleash. But Amanda raised a hand, silencing the space that felt congested with past regrets and future fears. Lila, you've already stepped onto this path. You can't pretend anymore. The pieces are all connecting, and if you don't understand the full picture, you could lose everything. Your sister, your sanity. Her eyes narrowed, holding a kind of desperate clarity that made me hesitate, the weight of her words pressing against my heart. A shiver ran through me. Every instinct screamed to step back, to protect myself from whatever storm she was about to unleash. But deep down, I felt a whisper of curiosity shred the fabric of my apprehension. What do you mean? What is it that I need to know? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, betraying the tremor rattling through my chest. I could feel the ancient history surging just beneath the surface secrets that could crack open wounds I had worked so diligently to avoid. There are forces at play that extend far beyond your understanding, Amanda replied, stepping closer as shadows danced across her features. Everything you've searched for regarding your father is past. The truth of who he truly was forms a web of lies meant to ensnare you. Your mother believes she's protecting you, but in reality, she's tying you to a narrative that doesn't belong to you. Every syllable felt like a clumsy step into murky waters. And you think you're the solution? I shot back, brimming with frustration. How can I trust you when you've been absent for so long? All I've heard are whispers and half-truths. There's so much more to this story than you realize, Amanda insisted, her tone unwavering. But before we divulge any deeper truths, we need to understand how far you're willing to go. The light can be blinding, revelations can change everything. I felt Jonathan move closer, his presence grounding, yet his eyes seemed to pull me back from the edge of uncertainty that loomed ever closer. Lila, he said softly, take a moment. Think of your sister. Whatever this legacy is, it could bring chaos, but it might also offer answers that set you both free. You don't have to face this blindly. For a moment, I was torn between two opposing forces, Amanda's drive, pushing me toward the truth, and Jonathan's gentle caution. The thought of my sister, innocent in all of this, filtered through the murk like a ray of sunlight piercing through storm clouds. I envisioned her face, the way she looked up at me with trust and love, captive to a world I had spent my life protecting her from. Lila, please, Amanda urged, a mix of desperation and urgency coloring her voice. Whatever your perception of me might be, you have more power than you realize. It's time for you to reclaim your narrative. A swell of feeling threatened to spill over. The tether of my childhood, once so solid, now frayed and stretched thin by the weight of our family secrets. I felt invisible forces nudging me forward, as if an unseen hand were guiding me down a path I had long avoided. With a hesitant but determined breath, I finally murmured, if I choose to go down this path, will you both promise to be honest with me? No more shadows, no more half-truths. Jonathan nodded, his expression earnest. Amanda held my gaze, her stare unwavering, revealing glimmers of hope and possibly regret in her depths. Absolutely, Amanda affirmed, finally allowing the cracks in her own armor to show. You deserve nothing less than the whole truth, especially if it might save your sister. In that moment, I felt a strange cohesion forming, an alliance forged under the pressure of impending revelations. Yet the cloud of uncertainty still loomed. The storm inside me raged on, battling the flickering flame of hope as we stood together on the precipice between ignorance and knowledge. Yet just as I thought I was prepared to take the first step forward, the air around us shifted violently. A figure emerged from the shadows, broad-shouldered and resolute. The unmistakable outline of a man I knew all too well, my father's business rival, a man whose name was whispered with trepidation. Lila, he said with a confidence that dripped malice, I think it's time we discussed your future tied as it is to your father's past. Just like that, the thin curtain separating security from chaos ripped wide open, and everything hinged on the moment that followed. The weight of choices darkened the sky above us, and the world tilted on its axis. The chill that raced through my spine felt all too familiar, a cruel reminder that safety was merely an illusion. My heart thudded erratically, caught between fear and fury as I faced the man I had long dreaded. What do you want? My voice quaked with barely contained emotion, struggling to project strength in the presence of a predator. He stepped forward, a predatory glint in his eyes, and I could see the gears turning in his mind as he meticulously weighed his options. Let's not dance around the truth, shall we? You stand at a crossroads, Lila. Amanda may claim to be an ally, but her motives are questionable at best. Jonathan's hand brushed against mine, a gentle, reassuring touch that bolstered my wavering resolve. The warmth was grounding, a small act of kindness amidst the brewing storm. I shared a fleeting look with him. His eyes were soft, urging me to stand tall even in the face of this threat. Amanda may not be perfect, I shot back, forcing my trembling voice to remain steady, but her intentions are far clearer than yours. You come here uninvited, ready to use fear to manipulate me. What gives you the right to dictate my future? He chuckled, a nasty sound that wrapped around me like thorns. Because your father's legacy belongs to me now. And your quest for the truth about him? It puts you right in my crosshairs. He nodded toward Amanda, his gaze sharp. Truth can be a double-edged sword, but in your case it might be your undoing. I fought against the wave of panic rising in my throat. You have no power over me. I managed, but his confidence chilled me to the bone. The weight of my family's history pressed down on my shoulders, thicker with each word exchanged. DOI. Let's talk about how your sister would feel about your choices, or perhaps how she would cope if you disappeared from her life overnight. Make no mistake, Lila. The threads of your fate are woven into the fabric of my plans, he retorted, his grin malicious, revealing depths of darkness I hoped were mere fabrications of my imagination. A surge of protective instinct rose within me, fierce and unyielded. Stay away from her, I warned, knowing fully that I was treading dangerous ground. If you think for a second that I'll let you hurt her purely to prove your point, you are mistaken. Even Amanda seemed to flinch at the thinly veiled threat that hung in the air, vulnerability bleeding into her steely demeanor. Lila, let's step back from this, she murmured, but she seemed just as powerless as I was. Jonathan shifted closer, his presence a steady anchor. We're not afraid of you, he declared boldly, refusing to give the man an inch. But uncertainty clouded the edges of his resolve, visible just enough that I felt the doubt coil around us tightly. From deep inside, something flickered, an ember igniting against the backdrop of doubt. The memories of whispered laughter shared with my sister surfaced, the warm embrace of our family in its simplest moments, a collage of light amidst the shadows of fear. Your threats mean nothing to me, I stated, drawing upon my past to solidify my stance. I may not know the truth of my family's legacy yet, but I will not be controlled or cowered into submission. Whatever you think you can take from me, I refuse to surrender. He studied me for a heartbeat longer, a moment that felt like an eternity. The tension crackled in the air, our breaths mingling with the dread that hung between us. Very well, he finally said, folding his arms with a mock smile. But remember, there is more at stake here than you believe. Choose your allies wisely. With that, he turned, melting back into the shadows, dissipating like mist on a summer morning. The oppressive weight of his presence faded, but the sensation of dread lingered like a bitter aftertaste. I felt the shudder in my limbs as silence shattered all around us. What did he mean? I whispered, looking to Amanda and then to Jonathan, both mirroring the mix of concern and determination etched in my heart. The truth he threatened is tied to a deeper current, Amanda revealed, her face pale, haunted by the implications. He is right in one sense. There are forces at work that may turn our quest for truth into a battlefield. The smell of rain hit the air, a heavy humidity settling in as storm clouds rolled in. I grabbed Jonathan's hand tightly, seeking strength from his warmth, grounding myself in the flicker of kindness that had surfaced against the tide of chaos. At that moment, just as hope began to pulse anew amid the tumult, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket. I fished it out, scanning the screen with an urgency that matched the racing of my heart. A message had come through, one from a number I didn't recognize. I have information about your father that can change everything. Meet me at the old pier tonight. The ground seemed to shift beneath me, the truth I sought now crawling back into view like an anxious shadow. The stakes had never felt higher. My feet were rooted in a tumultuous sea of uncertainty, while myriad questions buzzed in my mind. What should I do? I whispered, fear tangling with curiosity as I looked into Jonathan's determined gaze. This moment would define us, and as storm clouds loomed overhead, the storm in my heart promised more revelations and unforeseen trials ahead. How many secrets lay buried, ready to surface? And what would be their cost? As the rain began to fall, heavy and relentless, it matched the weight of my uncertainty. The world around me blurred under the gray shroud, yet I felt acutely aware of the significance of the moment. The ominous text lingered in my mind like a storm cell brewing just above the horizon, threatening to break at any moment. Jonathan squeezed my hand, grounding me against the chaos unfolding inside my chest. "We need to heed the warning," he whispered as the first droplets hit the pavement, a mixture of urgency and concern etching his features. "But we also need to be careful. This could be a trap." Amanda, fumbling with her phone, her heart echoing mine. "There's no telling who sent that message. Whoever it is, they know something significant. But meeting at the pier? It's too exposed." The white noise of the falling rain enveloped us, yet the anxiety swirling in my stomach felt much louder. I needed answers, yet the thought of placing myself in danger was terrifying. What if this person has the key to everything? What if it's about my father? We need to find out who he really was, who he really is. My words emerged more fervently than I intended, tinged with desperation. Jonathan's brow furrowed. "Lila, I understand your need to know, but we can't rush into this without a plan. Who knows what further dangers await us?" His voice carried the weight of concern, and for a fleeting moment, I was torn between the desire to uncover the hidden truths of my past and the instinct to shield myself from impending peril. The ghosts of my family haunted my thoughts, me sister, my parents each a fragile thread in the fabric of my being. Suddenly, Amanda's phone rang, breaking through the tension in urgent bursts. She answered quickly, her expression shifting from confusion to determination. "You want what?" "No, I refuse to let you speak to her." The shadowed hues of her complexion deepened as she listened intently. "That's not a conversation I take lightly. I'll call you back. What was that about?" I probed, dread gnawing at me as I studied her tight grip on the phone, her voice trembling. "It was Leo, my associate. He's been trying to dig deeper into the business dealings surrounding your father. He's uncovered something big." Hope, tinged with caution, flickered in my chest. "What do you mean big?" "Let's just say, it seems your father had made some deals that could affect both you and your sister in ways we never anticipated," Amanda said quietly. "And I think it ties into the situation with the man who confronted you. We might not have just a legacy to deal with, but a possible inheritance of trouble." The wind shifted violently, sending rain stinging against my cheeks, mirroring the tumult of emotions inside me. "I feel like I'm running toward a cliff, blindfolded. I have to pull my sister into this. I can't let her be left in the dark," I replied, firm in my resolve. Jonathan nodded. "Then we need to be as smart as possible. Let's figure out what Leo found, and then decide our next steps. No spontaneous meetings until we're sure of our safety." His presence by my side felt like an anchor in turbulent waters, despite the doubts swirling around you as we reached the car. The rain intensified, drumming a frenetic rhythm on the roof. I glanced at Jonathan, his brow furrowed in concentration, wondering what thoughts occupied his mind. "You're with me, right?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Always," he replied, the promise echoing in his eyes as they locked with mine. We made our way back to Amanda's office, stealing glances at each other, my heart beating furiously with a mix of fear and anticipation. Every beat whispered for answers, for the truth about my father. As I sat, the storm outside intermingled with the tempest forming within me, each moment building toward what awaited just ahead. And then, just as I reached for the door handle, my phone vibrated again. Another message, this time more urgent, a plea for attention. "If you don't meet me tonight, the truth will slip through your fingers. You don't want to lose everything that matters to you." The chill dripped down my spine, a deep, instinctual dread wrapping around my gut. Was someone genuinely concerned for my welfare, or were they trying to reel me into a deeper, darker web? Jonathan stepped closer, sensing my hesitation. "Lila, you okay?" The shadows in and around me deepened, whispers of an uncertain future weaving together as the thunder rolled above, matching the tremors in my chest. I hesitated, the fork in the road looming, just shy of what felt like a leap into the unknown. What would happen if I chose to defy the warning and meet this stranger at the pier? "I need to see what they have to say," I stated, unsure if I truly believed the conviction behind my words. But another part of me questioned whether it was wise. As the evening unfolded into an uncertain night, I grasped my phone tightly, the weight of its implications pulling me down into a darkness I didn't fully understand. But something deep within me whispered that to discover the truth about my father, I would need to take a step into the abyss no matter how daunting the shadows may feel. The evening thickened with an almost tangible tension, interlacing our shared anxieties with an increasingly sense of foreboding. Despite all my doubts, a flicker of determination clung to the edges of my mind. This could be my chance or it could be a devastating mistake. Amanda, keenly aware of my inner turmoil, rested a hand on my shoulder. "We'll figure this out, Lila. We'll be together," she said softly. Her comforting presence was a balm against the storm of emotions that clashed within me, but even her reassurances felt fragile, as though they could shatter at any moment. Jonathan watched me, worry etched in every line of his face. "Are you really sure about this?" he asked, a note of urgency threading through his words. "You don't have to do this alone. We can figure things out without meeting whoever this is," but I was pulled toward a truth that seemed to dim in the distance. "If I don't go, the fear will consume me, and I'll never know." I trailed off, gripping my phone until my knuckles turned white. Amanda sighed, folding her arms across her chest, but then nodded. "Okay then. We can go, but we have to be smart about it. Let's scope out the pier first, see if anything seems off before we engage." Part of me felt as though I had slipped into a vortex of uncertainty, and I feared the uncontrollable nature of my choices. Yet, I knew I had to find clarity, even if it meant confronting the shadows that loomed in my past. As we approached the pier, a sense of quiet surrounded us, the echoes of rainwater pooling on the wooden boards adding a melancholic rhythm to the soft lapping of waves against the shore. I could barely hear the crash of water above the relentless thumping of my own heartbeat. "Stay close," Jonathan whispered, his voice barely audible above the elements. I nodded, taking comfort in his unwavering support. A dim figure emerged from the shadows at the end of the pier, their features obscured by the encroaching darkness. I took a shaky breath. Was this person a source of enlightenment, or yet another threat? "Lila," a voice called, rasping out my name as if it were wrapped in thorns. It was a voice I recognized, but one I had hoped to never hear again. My heart dropped as the figure stepped into the faint light. "Graham," I breathed, disbelief wrapped around my thoughts like a vice. It felt surreal to see him there, standing in the depth of the night, as if had been plucked from my more painful memories. My sister's estranged husband, his presence here sent a million alarms screaming in my mind. "What are you doing here?" I demanded, anger coating every word. "You shouldn't be here." "I am not here to fight, Lila," he insisted, taking a cautious step closer. "I had to come. There are things about your father that you need to know, things that go way deeper than you can imagine. You have to trust me." "Trust you?" The word tasted bitter on my tongue. "Why would I ever trust you?" "Because if you don't, you might lose everything," Graham said, his voice dropping. The sincerity in his eyes, reflecting a glimmer of earnestness amidst my fraying emotions, fanned a flicker of uncertainty. Jonathan's grip on my arm tightened. "Don't listen to him, Lila. You don't owe him anything," he said sharply, protective instincts flaring beneath the surface. The tension between the three of us crackled painfully, as if the air itself were charged with the weight of unsaid words and buried truths. "You think you can just show up and insist I listen to you?" My voice quaked with a mixture of fury and fear. "Please," Graham pressed, "there are people involved who are much worse than you realize. And your father, he made some choices that are putting you in danger. This isn't just about family, it's bigger than that." My heart raced as his words echoed in my mind. Could I trust him to speak the truth? Images of my parents flashed through my mind, each moment lingering like a painting of happiness starkly contrasted against the darkness of the past. "Lila, don't do this," Jonathan's voice cut through. "We can leave.
Right now.
Just walk away." As tempting as it was to retreat into the comfort of safety, curiosity tugged at my Korean urgent need for understanding, for answers that eluded me. But just as I began to step forward, The peaceful breeze sliced through the tension, interrupted by the sudden wail of distant sirens approaching. "Damn it," Graham hissed under his breath, his eyes darting towards the sound. "They're coming for you." "We don't have time." My mind lurched, a cacophony of fear and indecision battling for dominance. This felt all too familiar, as if fate had woven a trap from the threads of my past that I had only just begun to comprehend. I opened my mouth to argue, to implore him to explain more, but time slipped away like sand between my fingers. That harrowing moment, a choice loomed before me, a choice that would steer the course of not just my fate, but also the lives of those I held dear. I glanced at Jonathan, who wore a mask of fierce protectiveness. I turned back to Graham, the man who claimed to hold answers, yet also held so much heartbreak. Just as I made my decision, a group of shadows emerged from the end of the pier, their silhouettes cut against the night. My heart raced as realization swept over me, the storm inside me muted by the urgency of the moment. This was real. The truth was slippery, ensnaring me in its web. My life had shifted, the stakes raised, yet I stood on the precipice of revelation, a revelation that could turn the tides for all of us. But before I could take a step, my phone vibrated again, a new message lighting up the screen, shattering the moment's intensity. "They know you're there. Stay hidden, or you'll lose everything." A knot twisted in my stomach as the sirens wailed closer. I was stuck in the eye of a storm, with shadows threatening to envelop me at any moment. The path before me was unclear, but I was now aware the choices I made would unravel threads far beyond myself. I took a deep breath, swayed by the torrent of emotions swirling within me. This was the moment of truth, a collision of past and present threatening to break me apart, but it also had the power to pull me together. I glanced from Graham, whose eyes locked onto mine with desperate clarity, to Jonathan, a steadfast presence by my side, prepared to support me no matter the outcome. The sirens echoed like a distant hurricane, the urgency mounting with each second. "Lila, don't listen to him," Jonathan urged again, his voice firm yet laced with an undeniable concern. I could see the ripple of fear in his eyes as they flicked between us, like he understood that this treacherous path was urging me toward a choice I had long avoided. Yet, the fire in Graham's expression ignited something deep within, not just my curiosity, but a strong instinct to protect. "If you don't listen now, you might end up in a world of trouble. The truth has a way of resurfacing, and it will consume you if you don't face it head-on," he said, urgency pouring from his every word. "But why should I trust you after everything?" I pressed, confusion flooding my veins as the shadows around us pulsed with life, teasing the edges of my vision. "I know I've made terrible mistakes. I know how the lies have wrapped themselves around our lives, choking the light out of truths left unspoken. But I also know that what's coming isn't just history chasing you, it's reality, and it threatens everything we hold dear," he replied, his voice raw. My mind spun, grappling with the weight of Graham's admission. Could he really be here to help? Or was he caught in a deeper web of betrayal? Memories of laughter, family gatherings, and the warmth of my sister's hugs flooded back, stirring a longing for the untouched moments of joy we once had. Could we reclaim any semblance of that innocence from the chaos looming before us? With a burgeoning sense of determination, I looked into Jonathan's eyes, seeking his thoughts. "What do you think?" I asked, the gravity of our situation hanging heavy in the air. His jaw tightened, the internal battle evident across his face. "You deserve the truth, all of it. But this might drag you deeper into a world you've fought so hard to escape. Please, let's just leave. We can regroup and find another way without jumping into this darkness headfirst." When I was torn between the fear of lost opportunities and the looming threat of hidden truths, something inside began to ignite a resolute defiance that surpassed my doubts. "What if we don't get another chance?" I said quietly, realizing my words held a weight that no one else would understand. A.S. Graham shifted nervously. A faint crack of light illuminated his features, a glimpse of the man I once thought I could trust. "The people who threaten you don't just want your family's past, they want to keep you in the dark about who you truly are. If you walk away now, you're giving them a win, letting their shadows consume what's left of your heritage. His voice reverberated within me, a coaxing whisper that slid through the walls I had spent a lifetime building around my heart. The decision loomed dangerously. The approaching sirens harmonized with my racing thoughts. We have to take this risk. If there is something here that can protect my sister's future, then I owe it to her to confront it, I declared, meeting Jonathan's bewildered gaze. I can't turn away from it any longer. The shadows grew heavier, and as the sirens drew near, the urgency surged in the air. In that moment, clarity struck like lightning. Perhaps by confronting my father's legacy, we could liberate my sister from its grip, severing the chains of history. Jonathan opened his mouth to protest, but I reached for his hand, desperation mingling with certainty. Will you stand by me? No matter how dark it gets? His eyes softened, a flicker of pride and worry coalescing. Always, Lila. Just promise you won't lose yourself in this escape. No matter what truths come to light. I nodded, feeling the warmth of his hand intertwining with my own, a silent promise anchoring us together. Turning back to Graham, I said firmly, I'm listening. But if you betray me again, I won't hesitate to protect my sister from you. With a hint of fear flashing in his eyes, he nodded, guiding us into the shadows of the pier where secrets tangled like vines around the truth. Each step felt heavy yet liberating, an uncharted path ahead promising revelations that could shift the tide for both my sister and me. As we walked, I gathered strength from both men at my sides, one tethering me to the truth I sought out, the other giving me courage to face whatever lay ahead. I knew I was dancing on the edge of a knife, but beyond that peril existed the very things I longed to reclaim. We reached the far end of the pier, and the world fell silent, the chaos of rain dappling the pier behind us. In that silence, a figure shifted, cloaked in shadow, whispering nearly inaudibly, "You came." I looked up to see a young woman emerging, her features shrouded in the dim light. The flicker of recognition washed over me as the past roared back to life. "Hannah?" I breathed, shock licking the edges of my voice. "Yes, Lila." "There's much to explain," she said, her eyes reflecting the sorrow and strength of all that awaited. "And the truth will require all of us to stand together." As her words hung like delicate glass before us, I realized that the strands of connection around us were tighter than ever before, and in unraveling them, we could reclaim what had been lost. And somewhere, in the depths of my heart, I felt the stir of hope rising anew, a fierce resolve to rise above the shadows, united not by fear but by the unwavering bond of family. Because no matter how deep the darkness, even the smallest light could illuminate the path ahead. "Let's find the truth together," I whispered, feeling the weight of the past begin to shift, and with those words, I stepped forward into the unknown, because sometimes, even as the storm rages, it is beneath the shadows that we uncover the light of who we are meant to be. And with every heartbeat, I knew we would forge our own legacy from the depths of despair into the promise of tomorrow.